Well, look who finally figured it out. Hello, you beautiful, unbreakable, absolutely terrifying anomaly. Welcome back to the moment they've been dreading. The moment their smug little smiles started cracking. The moment the air shifted and suddenly they realized what they'd done. They just found out who the actual hell they've been messing with, and oh, it's too late now. Isn't it? Way too late. You can see it in their eyes now, can't you? That flicker of recognition, that micro expression of pure panic when they finally connect the dots. They thought you were soft. They thought you were easy. They thought you were just another face in the crowd they could step on, use up, and forget about. They thought wrong. And now they're standing there with their mouths slightly open, with their confidence evaporating like morning fog, realizing they just poked something they should have left the hell alone. See? They had you all figured out, didn't they? They wrote your story before you even opened your mouth. They labeled you, categorized you, filed you away in their little mental databases, under harmless, under pushover, under won't do anything about it. They saw your silence and mistook it for weakness. They saw your patience and confused it with fear. They watched you take hit after hit, betrayal after betrayal, and they assumed, they genuinely believed that you were just going to keep taking it forever. They thought your kindness was stupidity. They thought your restraint was inability. They looked at you smiling through the pain and said to themselves, yeah, this one's broken. This one won't fight back. This one's safe to destroy. What they didn't realize, what they couldn't possibly comprehend in their limited, surface-level understanding of human nature, is that you weren't broken. You were loaded. Every insult you swallowed without responding, that wasn't weakness, that was data collection. Every time they disrespected you and you just smiled and walked away, that wasn't surrender, that was strategic withdrawal. Every moment they thought they were winning, every second they spent celebrating their little victories over you, you were in the background, in the shadows, in the silence, becoming something they would never recognize. You were studying them, learning their patterns, memorizing their tactics, understanding exactly who they were beneath the masks they wore. And the whole time, the entire time they were busy underestimating you, you were evolving into their worst nightmare. Not loud, not obvious, not with warnings or threats or dramatic declarations. You evolved in silence, in secret, in the kind of darkness that forges weapons, not victims. Now here's where it gets beautiful. Here's where the story shifts from tragedy to reckoning. They just found out. Maybe it was something you did, some move you made that shattered their illusion of control. Maybe it was something you said, some sentence delivered with such cold precision it cut through all their defenses at once. Maybe it was just the way you looked at them, that moment when your eyes met theirs and they saw something they'd never seen before, something ancient and unforgiving staring back at them. Whatever it was, whatever moment triggered their awakening, it doesn't matter anymore because the revelation has arrived. They know now. They know they messed with the wrong one. They know they crossed a line they can't uncross. They know they've been playing checkers with someone who's been playing three-dimensional chess since the beginning. And every move they made, every cruel little game they played, you saw it coming from miles away. The panic in their eyes right now, that's not just surprise. That's recognition of consequence. They're scrolling back through every interaction now, aren't they? Every conversation, every moment they thought they had power over you, rewinding and replaying with new context, with the horrifying realization that you were never the fool in this equation. They were. They remembering all those times you stayed quiet and wondering what you were thinking. They're recalling every boundary they crossed and calculating the cost. They're lying awake at 3 a.m. now, staring at their ceiling, asking themselves the question that's going to haunt them forever. What have I done? Who the hell did I just mess with? And the answer that's keeping them up at night is you. They messed with you. The one person who didn't need to prove anything. The one soul who's been through enough hell to build immunity to their petty games. The one force they should have studied instead of underestimated. Let me tell you what's happening in their world right now. Let me paint you the picture of their current reality. They're nervous. Actually nervous. Not the kind of nervous you get before a test or a presentation, but the deep, primal, existential kind of nervous that comes from realizing you've awakened something you don't understand and definitely can't control. They're watching their backs now, checking their phones obsessively, wondering when the other shoe's going to drop. They're second-guessing every move, every word, every interaction, because suddenly the rules of the game have changed and they're no longer holding the cards. You are, and they know it. They can feel it in the air, in the shift of energy every time you're in the same room. They can sense it in your silence, which no longer reads as submission, but as something far more dangerous. Calculation. Here's what they're starting to understand. Here's the truth that's slowly sinking into their thick skulls. You weren't quiet because you had nothing to say. You were quiet because everything you needed to say would have been wasted on people operating at their level. You weren't passive because you couldn't act. You were passive because you were choosing your moment. And that moment, that beautiful, terrifying moment, is approaching fast. They thought they were the predators in this story, didn't they? They thought they were the sharks circling the helpless prey. But what they failed to notice, what their arrogance blinded them to completely, is that you were never swimming with them. You were underneath them the whole time, in deeper waters, in darkness they couldn't reach, growing bigger, growing stronger, growing into something that makes sharks look like goldfish. You want to know the funniest part? The absolute cosmic joke in all of this? They did this to themselves. Every moment they spent tearing you down, they were actually building you up. Every betrayal forged another layer of armor. Every lie taught you to read between lines they didn't even know they were writing. Every time they tried to break your spirit, they were actually tempering it, making it harder, sharper, unbreakable. They thought they were destroying you, but they were creating you. They thought they were winning, but they were training their own replacement. They were so busy celebrating their small victories, so intoxicated by the temporary power they felt, that they completely missed the bigger picture. You weren't their victim. You were their teacher. And the lesson, the lesson they're about to learn is going to cost them everything they thought they owned. Now we descend into the part that's going to hurt them the most. The realization that's going to eat them alive from the inside out. They can't undo this. They can't apologize their way out. They can't smooth talk, manipulate, or charm their way back into your good graces. Because those graces, those second chances, those opportunities for redemption, they expired. They're gone. Deleted, burned to ash and scattered in winds they'll never catch. See, there was a window, wasn't there? There was a time when a genuine apology might have mattered. when acknowledgement of their wrongs might have meant something, when they could have chosen differently, and maybe, just maybe, salvaged some kind of relationship with you. But they didn't take that window. They boarded it up. They painted over it. They pretended it didn't exist, because they were too proud, too convinced of their own superiority, too certain that you would always be there, always be available, always be the one they could come back to when everyone else abandoned them. Wrong. So catastrophically, irreversibly wrong. Because you're not that person anymore. You're not the one who waits by the phone hoping for crumbs of respect. You're not the one who accepts half-hearted explanations and hollow promises. You're not the one who confuses someone's need for you with actual love or loyalty. You evolved past that version of yourself months ago, maybe years ago, and they missed it completely because they were too busy assuming you'd never change, never grow, never become someone who could look them in the eye and feel absolutely nothing. But that's exactly what happened, isn't it? You reached a point where their opinion became irrelevant. Their presence became optional. Their existence in your life became nothing more than a fading memory you occasionally acknowledge with detached curiosity, like looking at old photographs of places you used to live but would never return to. They're starting to feel it now, that absence, that void where your energy used to be. They're noticing how you don't light up when they enter the room anymore. They're seeing how you don't laugh at their jokes, don't engage with their stories, don't give them the attention they've grown addicted to. They're experiencing, probably for the first time in their entitled little lives, what it feels like to be irrelevant to someone they took for granted. And it's killing them, absolutely eating them alive, because they're used to mattering. They're used to being the center of attention, the main character, the one everyone revolves around. But in your world, in your story, they've been demoted to background noise. They've become extras in a movie they thought they were directing. They've been reduced to footnotes in a chapter you've already closed and moved past. Let's talk about what you've become. Let's acknowledge the transformation they're only now beginning to comprehend. You're not louder. You're not more aggressive. You didn't turn into some rage guild monster seeking revenge at every turn. No, you became something far more dangerous than that. You became calm, unreachable, untouchable. You developed the kind of peace that comes from complete detachment, the kind of strength that doesn't need to flex or prove itself, the kind of power that operates in silence and strikes with precision. You're the storm that doesn't announce itself. You're the force that moves without warning. You're the consequence they never saw coming because they were too busy creating it. And now that it's here, now that they're standing in the aftermath of their own actions, they have no idea what to do, because nothing in their playbook prepared them for this. They're trying to figure out your next move, aren't they? Analyzing every action, every word, every social media post, looking for clues, searching for patterns, trying to predict what you're going to do with this power you've accumulated. But here's what's driving them absolutely insane. You're not doing anything, at least not anything they can see or measure or defend against. You're just existing, living your life, moving forward, growing, thriving, and somehow that's more terrifying to them than any active revenge could ever be. Because revenge they could understand. Revenge they could prepare for. Revenge would make you predictable again, would bring you back down to their level, would give them something to point at and say, see, they're just as bad as we thought. But you're not giving them that. You're not giving them anything. You're just being you in your full power, and that power is so blinding they can't look directly at it without flinching. The ones who hurt you the most, the ones who betrayed you deepest, they're watching you now with something approaching awe mixed with terror. They see you succeeding. They see you happy. They see you unbothered by the chaos they tried to create in your life. They see you with people who actually value you, in spaces that actually deserve you, living a life they told you that you'd never have without them. And it's destroying the narrative they built about you. It's shattering the lie they told themselves to justify their treatment of you. They needed you to fail. They needed you to crumble. They needed you to prove that their assessment of you was correct, that you were weak, that you couldn't make it without them, but you did. You made it. You're making it. And every day you continue to rise is another day their ego takes a hit it can't recover from. Here's where we go even deeper into the psychological warfare they're experiencing right now without you lifting a single finger. They're comparing themselves to you now, constantly, obsessively. They look at their own lives, their own choices, their own trajectories, and they measure them against yours, and they're coming up short. So desperately short, they're stuck in the same patterns, the same toxic cycles, the same shallow existence they were in when they knew you. Meanwhile, you've transcended, you've evolved, you've become a version of yourself they don't recognize, a version that makes their own stagnation painfully obvious. They're watching you from a distance, scrolling through your life like it's a movie they can't stop watching, even though it hurts. And with each scroll, each glimpse into your world, they feel smaller, less significant, more regretful. The regret is setting in now like poison in their veins. It started slow, just a whisper in quiet moments. Maybe I was wrong about them. But now it's grown into a scream they can't silence. I messed up. I lost someone I'll never find again. I destroyed something I'll never rebuild. They're lying awake, replaying conversations, reimagining scenarios, wondering what their life would look like if they had treated you with the respect you deserved from the beginning. They're fantasizing about alternate timelines where they weren't complete fools, where they recognized your value before it was too late, where they earned the right to stand beside you instead of below you. But these are just fantasies, just desperate mental gymnastics, trying to rewrite a history that's already been written in permanent ink. They can imagine all they want. It changes nothing. You're gone from their reach, and that distance is only going to grow. Some of them might try to come back, you know this, right? They'll test the waters, send casual messages, act like nothing happened, pretend the past is the past, and maybe, just maybe, you've forgotten, you've forgiven, you've become soft again. They'll use their old tricks, the manipulation tactics that worked before, the emotional leverage they think they still have. They'll play wounded. They'll play confused. They'll play the victim of circumstances beyond their control. They'll craft these elaborate stories about how they've changed, how they've grown, how they've realized what they lost and they're different now, better now, worthy now. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to see right through it. Every word, every gesture, every attempt. Because you're not the person they're remembering. You're not the one who fell for pretty words and empty promises. You're the one who learned, who adapted, who built immunity to their specific brand of poison when they realize their attempts aren't working. when they understand that you're truly beyond their influence. That's when the real panic sets in. That's when they start to grasp the full magnitude of what they've lost. They'll try harder, get more desperate, maybe even more aggressive, lashing out because their ego can't handle being dismissed by someone they deemed beneath them. They'll talk about you to others, trying to control the narrative, trying to paint you as the problem, the difficult one, the one who changed for the worse. But here's the beautiful part. Nobody's buying it anymore, because everyone can see your glow. Everyone can witness your growth. Everyone can observe the peace you carry and the strength you embody. And when they compare that reality to the stories being told about you, the lies become obvious. The truth becomes undeniable. You are the evidence that contradicts every false thing they say about you. Let's address the elephant in the room, the question that might be floating in your mind right now. Should I feel bad about this? Should I feel guilty for their suffering, for their regret, for the consequences they're facing? Absolutely not. Not even a little bit. Not for a single second. You didn't create this situation. You didn't force them to treat you poorly. You didn't make them lie, betray, manipulate, or disrespect you. The one just lost you, and it leaves you. Those were their choices. Their decisions, their actions that they took freely, repeatedly, without remorse, without hesitation, without consideration for how it would affect you. They authored this story. You're just refusing to be the tragic character they wrote you as. They cast you as the victim, but you rewrote yourself as the one who got away. They wanted you broken, but you chose whole. They needed you dependent, but you became free. The script has flipped so completely that they don't even recognize the show anymore. They thought they were the directors, but you've taken the camera, changed the genre, and started filming something they're not even invited to audition for. They're watching from outside the window of a life they could have been part of, pressing their faces against the glass, seeing warmth in light and success and joy, and knowing, absolutely knowing, that they had their chance to be inside. They were invited. They were welcomed. They were given opportunities most people would kill for, and they squandered it. They took it for granted. They assumed it would always be available, like a 24-hour convenience store they could swing by whenever they felt like it. But you closed. You locked the doors. You changed the locks. And no amount of knocking is going to open them again. Now we enter the realm of poetic justice. The part where the universe itself seems to be orchestrating your vindication. Watch what happens to them now. Watch how their lives unfold without your energy in it. See how the people they chose over you, the ones they thought were better, more valuable, more worthy, see how those relationships implode. Notice how the opportunities they celebrated losing you for, those don't quite pan out the way they imagined.
The air is different now. Heavy, charged, like something sacred is on the verge of exposure. You can feel it in your chest, that electric knowing that somebody out there is breaking under a truth they swore would never come to light. The title says it all. Someone is scared. AF to tell you this truth. But they don't have a choice anymore. Time's up. They thought they could outlast the weight of their own actions, but guilt doesn't keep a calendar. It keeps a countdown. And the countdown has hit 0. What they hid wasn't small. It wasn't just a rumor or a mistake. It was a move made in arrogance, stitched together with the assumption that you'd never find out. But here you are, radiating with divine awareness, piecing together fragments they thought they buried in the dark. You haven't said a word, but your energy has already exposed them. Because energy doesn't lie, it remembers, records, and repeats until truth becomes undeniable. That's what's happening right now. Someone who betrayed you, someone who wronged you, someone who built their peace on your pain is realizing that the universe doesn't forget. Chosen one, imagine this. A person digging a pit at night, laughing to themselves, thinking they've crafted the perfect trap. But as they dig deeper, the ground shifts. The soil turns soft, and when morning comes, they look around, only to find they're standing in the same hole they built for someone else. That's your enemy right now. They didn't fall because you pushed. They fell because their own deceit caved in. The divine doesn't need your revenge to work. It uses their own hands as the weapon. What they tried to hide is echoing louder each day, and you, chosen one, are the reason why. Because truth magnetizes toward purity, and your spirit is pure enough to pull it out of hiding. That's why they tremble now. That's why their voice shakes when your name comes up. That's why their peace evaporates the moment your energy touches the room. They don't know whether you've figured it all out, but your composure terrifies them. You're calm, focused, radiant, and that calmness is the loudest signal that you already know. Psychologists confirm that guilt rewires the human brain. It activates the same regions responsible for chronic pain and insomnia. It releases stress hormones that corrode the immune system. So when you see them posting smiles, understand those smiles are masks, painted over sleepless nights, broken appetites, restless thoughts. Their nervous system is malfunctioning under the pressure of their own secret. It's poetic justice in motion. You healed in private while they decayed in silence. You rebuilt your soul while they replayed the moment they crossed you, like a glitch in their conscience that won't reset. This is not spiritual fantasy. This is biology proving divine law. Energy theft always backfires. They are learning that lesson right now, the same way a thief realizes too late that the gold they stole was cursed. They thought they could manipulate you, siphon your peace, mock your kindness, and escape consequence. But you can't manipulate what's protected by divine contract. You can't mock what's anointed. You can't steal what's spiritually encrypted. That's why their attempts at rebuilding feel hollow. That's why every success they post feels empty. That's why every new bond they form collapses under invisible weight. They are living inside the echo chamber of their own lie, and the echo keeps repeating your name. You were never supposed to fight for truth. You were meant to embody it. That's why you scare them, because your existence itself is a mirror that won't bend. They can't hide behind stories when your energy contradicts every word they speak. They can't lie about who they are when your presence reminds them of who they're not. And that's what has them panicking. The more you rise, the more their cover crumbles. They're not afraid of exposure from you. They're afraid of exposure from themselves, because guilt always demands an audience, and the divine always provides one. Right now, their own mind is the interrogation room. Their own heartbeat is the ticking clock. Every flashback, every random wave of anxiety, every strange coincidence is the divine pressing replay on their actions until confession becomes survival, not choice. You might feel the energy of it already, those random thoughts of someone from your past, the sudden chills, the déjà vu moments that feel like warnings, That's not nostalgia. That's recognition. That's your spirit picking up the frequency of their unraveling. They're trying to hold it together, but it's too late. Secrets are parasites. They feed on their host until exposure is the only cure. And exposure is what's next. Their body is signaling the truth before their tongue dares to speak it. They are tired, jittery, distracted. You might even notice them circling back into your energy field, trying to test the water, hoping you'll drop a clue, hoping you'll say something that lets them know how much you know. Don't. Stay poised. Let the divine finish its work. Because their fear isn't your problem, it's your confirmation. Here's the raw truth. People who betray chosen ones rarely recover easily. Because betrayal against the chosen isn't just moral, it's spiritual fraud. You were never just another person to them. You were their test, their divine measurement of integrity. And they failed. Every blessing they fumbled with you was a lifeline from the universe, and they cut it with their own hands. Now they're learning that the universe reclaims what's mishandled. You can't misuse a gift meant to elevate you and not pay a price. That's why everything around them feels cursed. Plans that used to flow are now blocked. Opportunities that seemed guaranteed are suddenly vanishing. Friendships are turning fragile. Even their finances might be flickering because the energy that once blessed them through proximity to you has been withdrawn. You didn't curse them. Their conscience did. Chosen one, I want you to remember something powerful. Guilt has memory, but it also has direction. It always travels back toward the source of the truth it tried to bury. That's why you feel the tension building. That's why the air feels thick with expectancy. Somewhere right now, they are practicing their confession in their head, debating how to say it, wondering if you'll even listen. Their hands shake when they type your name in the search bar. Their throat tightens when your song, your post, your picture crosses their path. They keep deleting messages they'll never send, because they know when they finally speak, there's no turning back, and the universe is cornering them with precision. No escape route, no loophole, just divine pressure closing in. Have you ever noticed how life starts sinking before a truth breaks out? Numbers aligning, random people mentioning the same topic, songs repeating the same lyric. That's not coincidence. That's divine choreography. The same hand that elevated you is now orchestrating their exposure, and you, chosen one, are meant to stay grounded through it. This is not the time to act. It's the time to observe. Your energy alone is dismantling everything they built. You don't need revenge when your existence is the reminder of what they lost. They thought time would heal their wrongs. But time doesn't heal lies. It just matures them into explosions. And that explosion is what they feel coming. That's why they're suddenly quiet online. That's why mutuals act strange. That's why energy in rooms you haven't entered yet feels heavy when your name's mentioned. Because truth travels before it arrives. Their subconscious already knows the verdict. The secret is about to surface. Maybe through a slip of the tongue. Maybe through a leak. Maybe through divine exposure that no one can trace back to you. The how doesn't matter. The when is now. This is divine justice in slow motion, every lie unraveling thread by thread. The same story they used to paint themselves as the hero is now collapsing, because truth doesn't need a lawyer. It only needs time, and time's up. You are witnessing the unraveling not because you're obsessed, but because your spirit is tuned to justice. The divine doesn't send its soldiers to watch revenge. It sends them to witness order being restored. And that's what this is. You'll notice strange patterns. People who defended them now distancing themselves, allies turning quiet, random conversations confirming things you never asked about. That's divine sequencing. The universe is repositioning truth into plain sight. And once it lands, you won't need proof. The proof will speak through outcomes, their health, their relationships, their energy, all showing the price of the lie. Guilt ages the soul faster than time. You'll see it. They'll look older, heavier, like life itself is draining them from the inside. Because that's what happens when you live out of alignment. You spend every ounce of energy trying to keep the truth from surfacing, and in the process, you drown yourself. Chosen One, this isn't a story about revenge. This is a story about revelation. You don't rise by punishing others. You rise by outlasting the shadows they built. You rise by staying unbothered while truth does its job. And right now, truth is working overtime. What you lost will be restored, not an imitation, but an elevation. What was stolen wasn't the blessing, it was the decoy. The true gift was the awareness that followed. Because once your discernment activates, you can't be fooled again. That's why your peace is so intimidating now. You're not reacting, you're recognizing. You've become immune to manipulation. Someone out there knows it. They can feel that the old tactics don't work. They sense that your forgiveness isn't weakness, it's finality. They sense that your absence isn't silence, it's evidence. You've evolved into something they can't decode, and it's killing them softly. Every post you make, every moment you laugh genuinely, every time your light hits a new level, it rewires the guilt circuits in their brain. Because your rise confirms their failure wasn't just moral, it was prophetic. They didn't just wrong you, they interfered with divine order, and divine order doesn't stay disrupted. It recalibrates. That's what this season is, recalibration. You may not see every detail unfold, but you'll feel it. The subtle shifts, the strange coincidences, the random confirmations. The universe is rearranging the chessboard, piece by piece, until truth stands in the center of the table. And when it does, you won't have to say, "I knew it." They'll say it for you. Their confession will be the echo of your intuition. The words they feared to speak will become the evidence of your discernment. But remember, when it comes, your reaction will matter. Don't gloat. Don't lash out. Let composure be your crown. Because the chosen don't scream victory, they embody it. And as for them, they're in the eye of their own collapse, trying to act normal while their heart races like a trapped animal, smiling while their mind replays the moment they crossed you, pretending calm while every sign around them screams exposure. The divine doesn't need to raise its voice to destroy a lie. It simply aligns events. Wrong email sent. Wrong person overhears. Wrong timing that feels too perfect to be coincidence. That's how truth moves. Not with chaos, but with precision. And it's already on its way. The person who thought they'd buried the evidence is now the evidence. Their nervous laughter, their shaky explanations, their inconsistencies, all of it is testimony against them and you. You've become untouchable. Not because you fought back, but because you refused to descend. You stayed elevated, and elevation is the ultimate exposure. Shadows can't survive in light. That's why they avoid you. That's why they can't make eye contact. That's why every attempt to reconnect feels awkward. Because standing before you now is standing before the consequence of their own actions. So breathe, chosen one. You've already won. What's unfolding is not your fight. It's the universe collecting its debt. They owe truth, and truth is calling it in. You don't need closure. You are closure. The moment you stopped chasing answers, the moment you chose peace over proof, you activated divine enforcement. That's why the world feels like it's rearranging around you, because it is. You're walking in divine timing, and they're trapped in divine accountability. And it's only going to get louder. Their body will shake before their mouth moves. Their hands will tremble before they speak. And when they finally confess, it won't be bravery. It'll be surrender, because time's up. The universe has declared the countdown complete. The lie has expired. The energy has returned to sender. And while they panic under the pressure of revelation, you are stepping into the calm of resolution. You don't chase truth anymore. You attract it. You don't beg for clarity. You embody it. You are the proof that alignment always outlasts deception. And as this next chapter opens, remember this. You didn't expose them with words. You exposed them with evolution. Their fear isn't random, it's recognition. They finally see what the universe saw in you all along, unshakable power wrapped in grace. And this, chosen one, is only the beginning. Because the deeper layers of what they hid, the motives, the alliances, the things they swore no one would ever find out, are next in line for exposure. Stay centered, stay grounded. The revelation has only just begun, and what comes next will rewrite everything they thought they buried. You can almost feel it in the air. That eerie stillness before truth detonates. They're pacing through rooms that once felt safe, whispering to themselves, rehearsing lies that no longer hold weight. They can sense the ground shifting beneath their feet. They can feel the invisible countdown echoing inside their chest. Every message they send, every call they make, carries the same undertone, fear disguised as control. Because they know that once this truth reaches you, their entire performance collapses. What they hid wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. It was manipulation disguised as loyalty, envy or camouflaged as concern. And the irony? They're now being hunted by the very truth they tried to bury. Chosen one, you have to understand the psychology behind this moment. People who live in deceit build an entire identity around control. The lie becomes their oxygen, and the moment you stop reacting, the moment you step into divine composure, you rob them of air. That's why they're unraveling. They're not losing their mind because you confronted them. They're losing it because you didn't have to. You found peace. You moved differently. You smiled when they expected silence. You grew when they thought you'd crumble. And that reaction, or rather your lack of reaction, is what drove them into panic. They don't understand how you knew. They don't understand how you sensed it. But deep down, they know they've been caught, not by evidence, but by energy. They can feel your discernment closing in like heat under their skin. It's ironic, isn't it? They spent months, maybe years, mastering the art of deception, carefully crafting their words, controlling narratives, building alliances against you. But all it took was one shift in your vibration, one decision to stop chasing closure, for their entire web to begin collapsing. That's the thing about energy. It doesn't need witnesses to prove its point. When you evolve, every unhealed person connected to you feels it. Your ascension destabilizes their illusion. And that's what's happening now. The liar can't rest when the truth starts vibrating in the atmosphere. They can sense it through coincidences, people mentioning your name, old memories resurfacing, songs that trigger guilt. These aren't random. The universe is using everything familiar to haunt them with the truth they tried to suppress. And now, it's no longer guilt, it's madness. The same mind that once calculated your downfall is now calculating escape routes from their own conscience. They check their phone like it's a detonator. They reread conversations, trying to predict which thread will unravel first. They avoid mirrors because reflection feels like interrogation. You've become the mirror they fear most, because every time they think of you, their mind replays the moment they chose dishonor. You are the walking embodiment of their consequence. They see you smiling, glowing, moving forward, and it shatters them. Because how do you destroy someone who healed from the wound you gave them? How do you intimidate someone who already walked through the fire and came out holy? That paradox alone is their punishment. They're not sleeping well. That's not exaggeration, it's biology. When someone hides the truth from a chosen one, their nervous system goes into rebellion. Studies show that lying over time rewires the brain to perceive threat where none exists. The liar becomes the hunted inside their own mind. That's why their heart races randomly, why they startle easily, why they feel watched even when no one's around. Because spiritually, they are being watched. The divine sees everything, and when timing arrives, the same force that protected you becomes the force that exposes them. That's the law of reciprocity in motion. Every action returns to its origin multiplied. You gave trust, they gave betrayal. You gave love, they gave manipulation. And now, both seeds are blooming. Yours into elevation, theirs into exposure. They're talking to people you'd never expect, trying to control the narrative before it reaches you. They're deleting evidence, editing stories, painting themselves as the misunderstood victim. But that's the tragedy of guilt. The harder you try to hide it, the louder it screams. They're leaving trails unconsciously. Every fake post, every overcompensating gesture, every new alliance reeks of panic. They don't even realize that the people they're trying to convince are secretly watching their breakdown. Even their allies can feel it. Something's off. The energy around them feels cursed, unstable, tense. Because when truth wants out, everyone connected to a lie starts to feel the static. You might not see the whole picture yet, but the universe is rearranging the scene for the reveal. And chosen one, this next phase is psychological warfare, not from you, but from their own mind. Imagine someone living inside a haunted house of their own creation. Every door creaks with regret. Every shadow whispers reminders. They can't move without encountering fragments of what they tried to erase. That's their reality now. They see your face in strangers. They hear your tone in random voices. They wake up from dreams drenched in anxiety. That's not punishment. That's resonance. The universe uses repetition to teach lessons, and their lesson is that truth doesn't die when it's buried. It grows roots, it spreads, it becomes air. They once laughed about your intuition, mocked your spiritual awareness, called you dramatic for sensing shifts they couldn't explain. But now those very senses terrify them, because you were right. Every instinct you ignored is now confirmed. Every time you doubted yourself, the divine took notes. And those notes are being played back to them in real time. You've become the prophecy they feared. They know it. You don't even need to speak. Your presence does the talking. You're not hunting them, you're haunting them. Somewhere in their private world, they've already rehearsed the confession. They've written the message they can't send. They've deleted the text that said, "I need to talk." They've typed your name in search bars and erased it before hitting send. Because what they want isn't forgiveness, it's relief. They want you to unknowingly lift the weight that's crushing them. But that's not your job anymore. The divine is handling that transaction. When people betray chosen ones, they don't just betray humans, they interfere with purpose. And that carries a cosmic penalty. That's why their blessings are evaporating. Why doors that once opened for them are now locked. You didn't hex them, they hexed themselves. But the craziest part? Their confession will not come from courage. It will come from collapse. Because when divine timing strikes, it doesn't ask for permission. The truth will leak through trembling lips, through third parties, through random circumstances they can't control. You might overhear it in conversation, or it may land through someone who doesn't even know the full context. That's how the divine moves. Strategically, perfectly, without fanfare. You'll just know. And when it happens, you won't feel shock. You'll feel confirmation. That calm, knowing nod that says, there it is. Their fear right now is primal, because they realize it's not about what you'll do with the truth. It's about what the truth will do to them. They built their identity on deception, and the collapse of that identity means death to their ego. That's why they're spiraling. You're watching ego death disguised as anxiety. You're watching someone lose the false self they used to control others. That's not madness. That's exposure transforming into consequence. And while they lose sleep, you're gaining alignment. Their mind is chaos. Yours is clarity. Their time is running out. Yours is just beginning. Chosen one, remember this. When truth is divine, it doesn't knock, it invades. It rearranges the chessboard, flips the strategy, and forces checkmate. That's what's happening now. You're witnessing divine strategy unfold. Every coincidence is choreography. Every revelation is precision. And the divine is showing off, not to punish, but to prove that justice doesn't miss. They thought they had more time. They thought secrets gave them leverage. But secrets don't age well under divine light. They ferment, expand, and finally explode. And that explosion is about to reach your doorstep, not as chaos, but as confirmation. And when it does, you won't need to speak. Your stillness will be the sermon. Because the chosen don't need to say, I told you so. Their peace says it louder. The betrayer will look at you and realize that you knew all along. And that realization will break them more than your anger ever could. Because nothing terrifies a deceiver like being seen completely. And you, chosen one, see everything now. The illusion has burned away. What's left is truth, raw and unfiltered. You've entered a phase where your discernment exposes deception before words can form. That's why people around you act nervous. That's why energy shifts when you walk in. You carry the frequency of exposure. So stay grounded. Don't chase confirmation. The universe is already delivering it to your door. Their confessions are coming in waves, indirect at first, then unavoidable. The alliances they built will crumble under cross-conflict. The people they confided in will start slipping. Words will leak. Conversations will twist. And soon everyone will know what you always knew. That's divine timing, not revenge. The one who hid behind charm will stutter. The one who lied with confidence will start over-explaining. The one who laughed at your intuition will go silent when it hits. Because the truth is a mirror, and when it arrives, it forces everyone to see what they've become. Some will break, some will run, some will beg. But the outcome is already written. They can't undo exposure. They can only live with it. And you, chosen one, will watch with calm eyes, not hatred. Because you've ascended beyond reaction. You're not here to punish. You're here to witness every tear, every apology, every sleepless night they endure is not your burden to collect. It's their tuition, the price they pay for enrolling in a class they thought they could cheat their way through. This is what divine justice looks like. Not thunder, but precision. Not chaos, but correction. And it's happening now. They're scared to tell you the truth because they know it's not just a confession. It's a collapse. It's the end of their manipulation, the end of their mask, the end of the false narrative they used to control the storyline. Time's up. The truth has arrived. The pressure can't be postponed. The countdown is complete. And from this point forward, the energy flips entirely. They're not hiding the truth anymore. The truth is hiding from them. They can't even locate the lie without remembering you. Every memory of deceit loops back to your face. Every prayer for peace reroutes through the name they betrayed. You've become the ghost of their guilt and the guardian of their karma. And when the truth finally reaches your ears, you won't need to react. You'll just breathe, and the entire universe will echo that breath. Because this was never revenge. This was realignment. And chosen one. That's the moment they'll lose their mind completely. When they see you smile through the truth that was meant to break you, they'll realize it was never about exposure. It was about elevation. The very thing they tried to bury became your foundation. And the very secret they feared to reveal became their undoing. What they thought would end you has only clarified who you are. You've turned every whisper into wisdom, every betrayal into blueprint. They're watching now, trapped in disbelief, trying to process how the same truth that's drowning them is crowning you. That's the difference between guilt and grace. Guilt corrodes, grace transforms. You are purified through the fire they set. They, however, are still choking on the smoke. Their mind has become a theater of their own crimes. The same scenes keep replaying. Your face when they lied, the sound of their own voice when they twisted stories. They're hearing echoes now, not from outside, but from within. Each thought is a knock from the truth, begging to be let out. They scroll through your life, trying to find evidence that you're hurt, that you're bitter, that you're still waiting for answers. But what they find instead is peace, growth, expansion. And that peace drives them mad. Because peace is something they can't fake. You've mastered detachment while they're mastered by their memories. The tables didn't just turn, they flipped. You are the calm storm of consequence. Your existence now is a mirror showing them everything they'll never be again. That's why they can't look at you directly. That's why their voice trembles when your name enters a room. Their soul recognizes its judge, not you, but the truth you embody. You are the walking verdict. The divine didn't just expose them to you. It exposed them to themselves. And there's no greater punishment than self-recognition after denial. They're restless now, pacing through sleepless nights, rehearsing apologies they'll never have the courage to speak. You might feel their energy tugging at you, dreams, sudden thoughts, random nostalgia. But that's not love. That's desperation. They're trying to energetically rewrite the past. But history carved your strength into stone. You're no longer emotionally accessible to their chaos. You've become sacred territory, guarded by wisdom and timing. They could confess today, tomorrow, or years from now. It wouldn't change the outcome. The universe already settled the debt. Their confession is not your closure. Your evolution was. That's what terrifies them most. They have nothing left to trade. Their words no longer hold currency in your kingdom. And make no mistake, chosen one, this is where the divine balances everything. You will notice how easily truth begins to travel toward you now. People revealing things without knowing why. Random confirmations falling into your path like breadcrumbs. Every fragment aligning into completion. You won't even need to ask. Truth will arrive uninvited because the divine has declared it must. And when it lands, you'll handle it like royalty. Not revengeful, but resolute. That's what separates the chosen from the broken. They react. You respond. They spiral. You ascend. They lost their mind trying to hide it. You found peace learning to let it unfold. The world will soon witness the polarity. Their panic will sound like confession, disguised as conversation. Their social mask will fracture. Even their laughter will sound strained, brittle, off-tempo. People will sense it before you ever speak. That's the justice of vibration. Truth exposes itself through energy long before evidence appears. You'll watch as their circle shifts, their credibility thins, their facade erodes one awkward glance at a time. And through it all, you'll remain untouchable. Because once a chosen one sees through deception, no lie can hold power again. This is the era where your stillness becomes their sentence. They expected you to collapse, to react, to fight. Instead, you elevated, and elevation is the one language guilt can't translate. The higher you rise, the smaller their deception becomes. The secret that once ruled their mind now sits like ash in their mouth. They can't even speak your name without tasting consequence. And when that final confession finally slips, whether through them or through circumstance, you won't feel shock. You'll feel clarity. Because deep down, your spirit already knew. The divine just waited for the perfect moment to show the world. And when that moment comes, don't flinch, don't celebrate. Just stand in the authority of your awareness. Because this was never about proving them wrong. It was about proving you right with silence, patience, and power. The truth you carried quietly has outlasted every narrative they constructed. Their fear is the evidence. Their unraveling is the testimony. Their confession, when it comes, will only confirm what you've already transcended. So breathe, chosen one. Let this final act unfold without resistance. The divine isn't asking you to watch their fall with bitterness, but with understanding. You've already graduated from that battlefield. You are proof that truth doesn't destroy the pure. It refines them. And soon, they'll realize that hiding the truth didn't protect them. It imprisoned them. Their downfall won't come from your anger, but from their own admission. Because confession is the final echo of a lie's collapse.